So let's break down exactly how this one's going to be won and lost. And this quote, man, it just sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? It really is the whole question of the night. On one hand, you've got the surgical precision of players like Lewandowski and Pedri. Can they dictate the tempo, slow things down, and just silence that legendary home crowd? Or will the thunder of Newcastle, powered by the brilliant Bruno and all their new firepower, just turn this into an unpredictable firefight? A result here could honestly shape the entire group stage.
Okay, so before we get deep into the X's and O's, we have to look at the team sheets. I mean, think about it. In a battle of control versus chaos, the players on the pitch, and maybe even more importantly, the ones who are missing, they could decide this whole thing before a ball is even kicked. Seriously.
So, let's take a look at the probable starting 11s. For Barcelona, the spine looks pretty familiar. You've got Koundé and Araujo holding down the fort in defense, Pedri pulling all the strings in midfield, and of course Lewandowski up top. But, and this is a big but, look a little closer. With some huge players out, you've got youngsters like Fermin Lopez and Marc Casadó stepping into absolutely massive roles. Now for Newcastle, the engine room is all about Bruno and Joelinton, no surprise there. The real question mark is up top. Are they going to go with the sheer physical presence of Botman or the lightning pace of Wissa trying to get in behind? That one choice right there tells you everything you need to know about their game plan. And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. I mean, just look at those absences for Barcelona. Lamine Yamal, Frenkie de Jong, Gavi. We're not talking about squad players here. These guys are foundational. Losing Yamal's one-on-one magic on the wing, that is a massive, massive blow. And then you flip it around, and Newcastle is just loaded with new, impactful signings. Wissa and Woltemade give them totally different options up front, and getting Joelinton back fit, that is a huge boost to their physicality in the middle of the park.
Okay, so we know who's playing. Now for the fun part. How are the two masterminds, Hansi Flick and Eddie Howe, actually going to try and impose their will on this game? Let's get into their tactical blueprints. And right here, you can see the two game plans side by side. It's night and day. Flick is all about control. He wants aggressive front foot pressing, he wants structured possession, he wants the game played on his terms. He also knows his left side is a bit vulnerable without Balde, so a big part of his plan is protecting that flank. Howie, on the other hand, he wants the complete opposite. He's looking to embrace the chaos, feed off that insane home crowd, and just fuel a game of fast transitions and dangerous set pieces. His goal is to stretch Barca with pure blistering pace. So let's talk about Barca in possession. What does control actually look like on the pitch? Well, you're going to see them build up in this very modern 3-2-5 shape. The whole point of this is to create overloads in midfield and, crucially, to isolate their most dangerous attackers in one-on-one situations. So here's how they do it. First thing you'll notice is Jules Koundé tucking in from right back. That creates a solid back three. What does that do? It gives Pedri and Fermin Lopez the freedom to roam, to rotate, to find those little pockets of space between the lines. But here's the most important part, especially today. What happens out wide? With no Lamine Yamal, the pressure is squarely on Raphinha to win his one-on-one duels on the right. Meanwhile, Lewandowski's job is simple but vital. Pin those center backs, occupy them, and be ready for those killer cutbacks. That's their main route to goal.
And what about when they lose the ball? Oh, they are not sitting back. That's just not in Hansi Flick's DNA. His whole philosophy is about winning that ball back immediately. So you're going to see a high press, probably led by Lewandowski cutting off the easy pass, with the entire team pushing up to basically suffocate Newcastle in their own half. The number one goal here, don't let a guy like Bruno even get his head up to pick a pass.
But Newcastle's plan, it's designed to completely bypass all that. They're not going to try to play through Barcelona's press in midfield. That's a fool's errand. Instead, expect them to be way more direct. They're going to look to get that ball forward and wide as fast as they possibly can, right to their key playmakers and runners.
And here's the playbook. The very first pass out of the back, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be looking for Bruno. He is the trigger for everything they do. From there, watch for him to spray those signature laser-guided diagonal passes out to the wingers. Then, you'll see the new strikers, whether it's Woltemade or Wissa, making these aggressive, darting runs to the near post, attacking those early crosses. And you can bet they'll be specifically targeting that makeshift Barcelona left side. That's the weak spot. Now, when Newcastle don't have the ball, expect them to be super disciplined. They'll drop into this compact, tight 4-5-1 mid-block. They'll stay narrow, and the whole idea is to make it incredibly difficult for guys like Pedri and Fermin to find any space to operate. They're going to try to set these little traps, right? funnel the ball out towards Barcelona's weaker left back, and the second they win it back, boom, they launch one of those devastatingly quick counters.
So, okay, we've got the grand strategic plans, but we all know football often comes down to individual moments, right? So let's zoom in on the key one-on-one battles across the pitch that are probably going to decide who comes out on top here. You can really boil this whole match down to 4 key battlegrounds. First up, the big one in midfield, Bruno versus Marc Casadó. Look, if Casadó can just deny Bruno time and space, Barcelona essentially cuts off the supply line to Newcastle's attack. Simple as that. Second, out wide, Raphinha against whoever is playing left back for Newcastle. With Yamal out, he is Barca's most dangerous one-on-one threat. Can he get the better of his man and create those cutbacks? Third, the central duel, Lewandowski versus Schär and Botman. His job isn't just to score, it's to occupy both of them, to pin them back and create space for others. And finally, in the Barcelona box, Newcastle striker against Casadó. Whether it's Wiss's clever movement or Botman's aerial power, Araujo has to be a monster and dominate his zone, especially on those early crosses. Honestly, whoever wins the majority of these matchups is probably going to win the game.
All right, so we've looked at the players, we've looked at the master plans, we've looked at the key battles. So what's the bottom line? Who takes the points? Control or chaos? It really comes down to this. For Barcelona to win, their high press has to work. It has to suffocate Newcastle, allowing them to grab control of the tempo and then get the ball to Raphinha to create chances for Lewandowski. That's their formula. For Newcastle, it's a totally different story. They win if they can ride that initial wave of energy from the home crowd, dominate on set pieces, and successfully use Bruno's incredible passing to spring their runners in behind that vulnerable Barca defense.
So, my final take? Here it is. On paper, you've got to say Barcelona's quality and their tactical structure give them a slight edge. But, and this is a huge but, that edge comes with a massive condition attached. They absolutely must survive the first 15-20 minutes. That initial storm at St. James Park is real. If Newcastle can land an early punch, fueled by that incredible atmosphere, that whole meticulous game plan of control could go straight out the window.
And that brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? Will the disciplined, methodical structure of Barcelona be enough to tame the storm? Or will the raw, chaotic energy of Newcastle reign supreme tonight? It's going to be an absolutely fascinating watch, that's for sure.